Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got Harem with Tiffania, Kirche and Siesta, part 2. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, RADROVER 117, and also subscribe to my channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. Tristan Academy of Magic. Sato laid in bed tired, but wide awake, as he felt both Louise and Siesta on either side of him snuggling against his arms. Part of him liked the contact, and wouldn't stay like this forever, but there was the little issue of both girls wanting his attention solely on only one of them. I wonder why I'm feeling so cold, Siesta said cutely. Come closer, Sato, she whispered, as she stroked the side of his face. You idiotic maid, Louise barely held back the yell. Move your hand away now, she swatted the other girl's hand away from Sato's face, and both sat up in bed. Every night you keep moving closer, you shameless maid. Sato is my friend, my husband, or don't you get that? I wouldn't move away, Siesta responded defiantly. I got a mission from Queen Henrietta to take care of Sato, and that's what I intend to do. What did you say? Louise asked, as her temper started to flare. What's wrong with that? Siesta shot back. Would you both calm down for just a moment and let me sleep? Sato asked the two. Shut up. The two girls yelled at once. Sato just sighed and fell back onto the pillow, mumbling yes dears to them. If that's the case, let's have a contest, Siesta suggested. Contest? Louise inquired. Let's see who Sato would choose, Siesta continued. Isn't that meaningless? This guy is deeply in love with me, and he's my husband. You'd never win, Louise responded. Oh really? It must be a misunderstanding, Siesta with an almost predatory smile. Just like a newborn bird who wants the first person it sees as his parent. It's not like that, Louise denied. If you have the confidence, then a contest should be fine, right? Siesta asked with a knowing smile. Hook, line, and sinker. Of course, the one he will choose is me, Louise replied, slightly nervous. Then let's have it this way, Siesta suggested. At the Sleipnir dance party tomorrow, if Sato is able to find Miss Valier, I'll give it once and for all. However, there was now a disturbing twinkle in her eyes. What? Louise asked nervously. If he can't find you, then Siesta spoke, as her arms slid under her breasts, and they jiggled for a second. You really don't have any confidence after all, she added upon seeing Pinket's reaction. I have every confidence, Louise countered fiercely. Don't get arrogant, your breasts are big. You cow. Sounds like the howling of a homeless puppy, Siesta commented. The two girls, in an act of complete immaturity, stuck out their tongues at each other, and then dropped their heads down to the pillows facing away from each other. In the mill, Sato let out a sigh of both relief and frustration at his wife and maid's actions. Seems like the future is full of disasters, Sato thought, as he drifted off to sleep. And what's Sleipnir? Good morning, Naruto greeted, as Sato approached, and sat down at the dining table in the center of the hall. What the hell happened to you? He asked, having taken notice of the swordsman's tired look. Louise and Siesta just wouldn't go to sleep last night, Sato replied. They mentioned something about Sleipnir, and a bet of some kind, I can't remember. Sleipnir? Naruto asked, confused. It's a dance party that's held at the start of a new semester. It's taking place tonight, Malicorn explained, as he ate. New semester? Sato asked. Why would they need to organize a dance party? It serves as a reception, Malicorn replied. I shall use my hand to teach the noble ladies how adult society socializes, Gichi said stunningly. Right, Naruto deadpanned while Sato looked amused. Did you know? There's sightings of a monstrous bird being spotted around the country, a passing classmate said to his friend, catching the attention of both Sato and Naruto. I've heard that too, the other replied. From the rumors, it seems to be an unbelievably huge and monstrous bird. My brother from the Dragon Knight squad said that too, the first added. However, this isn't any normal ball, Gichi continued, catching their attention again. It's a masquerade ball. Using the mirror of truth, we can masquerade ourselves with its magic. You can change your appearance to the person you hope to be the most. There's something that can really do that, Naruto thought. How many people will transform into me, I wonder? Gichi smiled stunningly. For I'm the most beautiful person in the world. And I hope we can barely stomach one of you, Naruto quipped. And who would you like to be the most? Gichi shot back. I don't know, Naruto answered truthfully. What about you, Sato? Malicorn asked, turning to where the swordsman sat only to see the chair empty. Where did he? Gichi started. How the hell did he get past my senses? Naruto blinked in surprise, and looked around the room, finding Sato walking towards the two students that passed the table before. Can you tell me about the rumors in detail? Sato asked the pair. It's said to happen at night, the first classmate started. A dragon riding knight on patrol looked up, and saw something strange that was at least 150 meters long. Could it be the legendary gigantic dragon? Another classmate asked, as he approached. No, yet another student mage spoke up. The shape of it is totally different from that of a dragon. But, when the dragon knight flew up into the sky, it was gone, the first student finished. He didn't see anything at all. He must have been wrong. You're not the only void user. Don't tell me those people are up to something again, Sato thought as he returned to the table. I have to warn Louise to be cautious. A huge bird that large, that sounds like either a demon or an airship to me, Naruto mused. This world doesn't have demons, Sato shook his head. At least I don't think it does, but if it was an airship, then it would need a better engine than the ones currently available to this world. The question was who was behind it. So, all the students that have gathered the lady fantasy of the night, she'll take you to the world of fantasies, Chavrus explained, as she stood between the large curtain and the students. May I introduce the mirror of truth? She pulled the curtain back to reveal a golden framed mirror. So, that's the mirror, Naruto muttered when he saw it. Is it so hard to believe? Louise asked, almost uncaring. In my world we can cast a spell on ourselves called Henge, which makes us look like anyone or anything we want, Naruto responded. Even then only I, and my last student, Konohamaru, were able to really transform like what this mirror is supposed to do. Please go in one at a time, Chavrus told them. Are you ready? Naruto was curious when he first stood in front of the mirror, having seen several students go in before him, and come out the other side looking completely different. You must think of the ideal person in your mind. His ideal person. Truthfully, he didn't know at first. He thought about his father, and the way he looked back during the battle with Pain. Jiraiya. Kakashi. Sasuke. The mirror will reach the deepest part of your heart, transforming your appearance to your ideal person. Come, imagine it. He closed his eyes, and the mirror began to glow a mix of pink and red. When he opened his eyes after the light died down, he was shocked at the face that looked back at him through the mirror. It was the face of the one man he knew, but yet didn't know he had red hair, looked roughly 18, and his eyes were that of a certain Rinnegan. His ideal person was Nagato before he descended into darkness. Nagato. Naruto trailed off, and turned away, proceeding into the dining hall. Ladies and gentlemen, Osmond explained. Tonight is the masquerade ball. There's no need to be troubled by status, rank or title. It's organized to let everyone feel equal, or else it'd be impossible to learn together. Moreover, Queen Henrietta is here tonight. She also obeyed the rules of the masquerade ball and mixed up in the crowd. Guessing who Queen Henrietta is would be a fun thing to do. Listen, you all have to work hard to become the ideal person you wish to be. Then, please enjoy the ball to the fullest. Hurry, hurry, the ball has started. Chavrus ushered the next group of students towards the mirror room. Gimli was the first one to transform, and turned into what looked like a Trishtan knight. Next was Montmorency, as Queen Henrietta, and finally a female Malicorn. I've always admired the dragon riding knights, Gimli cheered, as he examined himself. I've always wanted to try becoming a princess too, Montmorency smiled, as she looked at her Henrietta's body. I've transformed into a stunning beauty indeed, the female Malicorn danced, as the other two stared, clearly disturbed by the sight. I think I'm blind, Naruto muttered while cursing the fact that his Rinnegan was active. Hi, everyone, Gichi smiled dazzlingly while appearing like his normal self. Captain? Gimli asked, confused. Where's your masquerade? Montmorency asked. What are you talking about? I've already done my masquerading, Gichi replied with a shining smile. The one with extraordinary beauty and ideal figure is only me after all. But the sage, I knew he was self-centered, but seriously, what the fuck? Naruto thought, as he watched on. Shouldn't there be a limit to how self-absorbed a person can be? Montmorency asked with an almost horrified face. Suddenly 4 identical blonde elves dashed out of the curtain and into the room. 4 Tiffas. Naruto blinked before approaching the 4. Bad thoughts, good thoughts. Hey, if all of us masquerade as Tiffania, how are we supposed to tell each other apart? The first Tiffa, clearly Beatus asked. Hey, you 4, by any chance is one of you the real Tiffa? She was supposed to be here by now, Naruto asked the 4, catching their attention. Those eyes, it's that blonde boy, Naruto, Beatus thought when she saw him. We're not really one of the other girls, started only to be cut off. I'm the real Tiffa, Beatus said, surprising the other girls. And I believe you owe me a dance. You do know how to dance, don't you? Well yeah, but Naruto began. Then dancing with me, Beatus smiled through Tiffa's face. Alright, but I'm not too sure about your country's dancing style, Naruto nodded, and took her hand in his. What is Melody doing? One of the other Tiffs asked, as she stepped out onto the dance floor, and began to waltz. Naruto again thanked the sage, and commented that he had the Rinnegan, and had used it to search through that girl, Beatrice's mind during the Inquisition last month. If it wasn't for that he would never have been able to even keep up with Tiffa in his arms. You're good, Naruto commented. So are you, Beatrice responded. Is something wrong? Your voice sounds different, Naruto asked with a worried look. I'm fine, Beatrice replied. Can we go get some air? Okay, Naruto nodded, and the two walked towards the stairs. They eventually stepped out into the courtyard, and Beatrice pulled away. There's something different about you, Beatrice commented. You aren't like other guys, you're too kind. You're Beatrice, aren't you? Naruto asked her. When did you know? Beatrice asked back. When I first spotted you, and the others, I knew that you couldn't be the real Tiffa, but I didn't know you were Beatus until we started dancing. Those moves were just like the ones I saw when I read your mind, Naruto answered. So, your ideal person is Tiffa, huh? Yes, she is, Beatus admitted. You and her, you're my first real friends. The first people to accept me for who I am, and not for being a princess, she smiled, and turned away. When I first looked in that mirror, I thought I'd turn into my father or my former master, but instead I turned into my dead relative, Naruto spoke sadly. This face, these eyes, and this hair are my family's bloodline. I still remember his face before he died, and it was nothing like the face you see now. Who was he? Beatus asked. His name was Nagato Uzumaki, Naruto replied. He wasn't a man, he was a god powerful enough to crush entire villages, and turn them into craters with the wave of a hand. And what about you? Beatus asked hesitantly, as he suddenly appeared in front of her, and pulled her against him. Naruto started. I am the last of a family, a clan I inherited from the Rinnegan when Tiffa made me familiar with her. I am only human for now. He didn't know just how true those words were. Kiss me, Beatus asked him. What? Naruto asked, surprised. Pretend I'm Tiffania for just a moment, I want to feel you please, Beatus pleaded. Naruto didn't say anything for a moment, but silently nodded, and brought his lips to hers. Neither of them noticed the blue-haired mage knight watching on from the steps before she turned away. As she left to complete her mission, she smiled, happy that one of them had escaped their loneliness. It was time to begin. Where exactly is Louise? Sato sighed, as he walked through the ballroom without a masquerade. He was running late, as it was when he spotted what looked like a large dragon flying through the night sky outside. Although it's a masquerade ball, no one is cosplaying nor wearing masks, he mused before he saw a flicker of pink hair to his right. There she is, he sighed in relief when he spotted Louise standing at the balcony looking out into the night sky. Louise? He asked, as he approached. I found you quite easily, Sato said with a smile, as he stepped out onto the balcony. You're Louise, Henrietta asked. Huh? I'm me of course, Sato replied confused. Could it be the real Sato, Henrietta muttered, as she looked away. Anyway, a huge monster spurt appeared, Sato responded. Never mind, I guess it's okay for now since I'm here with you, he blushed remembering what had happened between them since they had gotten married. Sato, Henrietta whispered with Louise's face and voice. As I'm saying, Sato started. Yes? Henrietta asked him when a spider came down between them. She screamed when she saw it, and clung to Sato, as the spider dropped to the ground, and dashed away. Louise, Sato reassured. Are you really afraid of that small spider? She didn't reply, instead she simply stared up into his eyes before the two closed in, and their lips met in the center. Suddenly her body glowed pink, and the body of Louise was soon changed back into her true form of Henrietta. Your Highness? Sato asked in surprise when the two pulled away. Why is your Highness? The magic is gone. One of the students shouted. The ball hasn't ended. This is bad, the mirror of truth has been broken. Mirror? Sato asked, confused. Tonight's a ball that uses magic for masquerade, Henrietta explained. Using magic for masquerade, that means Sato started to stammer. I'm sorry, I thought that you were Louise. Don't mind about that, Henrietta told him. It's my fault that I've used magic to transform into my ideal person. It's normal that you didn't know about it. Ideal person, Louise? Sato asked. Yes, Henrietta nodded sadly. I'm very envious of her because she has an untainted heart and a sense of righteousness in her. If only I had a tenth of her courage, then I wouldn't have committed any mistakes, right? Making mistakes, Your Highness didn't do anything wrong, Sato responded. No, Henrietta cried silently into his chest before looking up at him with tears in her eyes. Sato closed her eyes, and her face drew closer to hers. The sudden sound of shattering glass echoed through the night. Henrietta stopped, and turned towards the source only to gasp in horror when she saw that familiar flock of pink hair. Louise, she whispered softly. Louise. Wait. It's not what you think. Sato shouted, as she turned and fled. Henrietta watched him go sadly. What happened? Beatrice asked when she saw that both her and Naruto had returned to their true forms in the middle of the courtyard. I don't know, Naruto replied, and went completely still in order to gather natural energy. The mirror of truth must have been broken, Beatrice guessed. Naruto. Beatrice. The familiar voice of Tiffa called out, as she appeared from the nearby entrance. I've been looking everywhere for you, something is wrong. We notice, Beatrice responded. Senjutsu. Senimoto, Naruto thought, as he gathered natural energy into himself. What the hell is this? Naruto said in surprise, as his eyes turned yellow with a red outline and elongated pupils. He could sense chakra now, and what he sensed was disturbing to say the least. Around the academy were numerous cult chakra signatures, almost like puppets, and they all appeared to be converging on the main gate. Louise. Wait. Sato called after, as she rushed out of the main entrance with Sato right behind her. Why? When did it start? Louise thought, as she ran, tears falling from her eyes. I don't know. Louise. Sato shouted as he grabbed her arm, preventing her from running any further. No, let go of me. Louise shouted back. Listen to me, Sato pleaded. Sato, I hate you, she told him. You're a traitor, you big idiot. With her highness of all people have I been deceived all along? She cried. You misunderstood just now that Sato started. What did I misunderstand? I actually saw it with my own eyes. Louise shot back. That's because I mistook her for you, and things turned out like that, Sato explained. Liar. She yelled, and pushed him away before turning and running out of the main gates. Stay away from me. I hate you the most. Louise. Sato called after her, as he ran to catch up with her. Louise. He asked when he cleared the gates, and couldn't see her anymore. A flicker of motion to his left caught his attention. Louise. He asked only to see blue hair blowing in the wind instead of pink. Tabitha. He asked did you see where Louise went? Lacey's clavis. Tabitha raised her staff, and shards of ice formed at her side. The shards immediately shot towards him, forcing him to draw Derflinger and dodge the barrage. The Sengen. Naruto appeared behind the blue-haired mage, and thrust out his hand with a familiar spinning chakra sphere in hand. Tabitha narrowly dodged, and the ball slammed into the academy outer wall, blowing a hole in it the size of a human body. Naruto? Sato asked in surprise. Why? Naruto asked Tabitha. Why exactly are you attacking us all of a sudden? It's an order, Tabitha replied, and swung her staff out towards him. Glacy's clavis. She exclaimed, and formed another volley of ice spikes. Shinra Tensei. Naruto called out, as the spikes closed in, and they were suddenly blown back by an invisible force. Order. What order? Tabitha stuttered. Why are you hesitating? A new female voice called out. They all looked up to see what looked like a black flying stingray with a woman, and Louise standing on top of it. Sheffield, Sato said with anger in his voice. So that monstrous bird we've been hearing about is really you after all. He rushed forward only for Tabitha to step in his way. Move out of the way, Tabitha, Sato said to her. If you don't move aside right now, I'll be forced to go through you to save Louise. How can she move aside? She is the Chevalier Noir Portier, Sheffield sneered. Our loyal watchdog. Watchdog? Sato asked. Partner, she seems to be serious, Durf spoke up. I'll deal with her, you go rescue Louise, Naruto told the blue-clad swordsman, as two clones popped into existence beside him. Are you sure? Sato asked over his shoulder. I'll be fine, good luck, Naruto nodded, as Tabitha charged another spell, this one obviously more powerful than before. Lacey's Pilm. Tabitha exclaimed, as the ice compressed into a single long javelin which then shot towards the two human familiars. Fuden. Rasengan. Naruto called out, as the clones finished charging a fist-sized spinning ball of chakra and wind. He brought the sphere up, and slammed it into the oncoming ice javelin, as Sato blurred past them both, and towards where Sheffield and the hypnotized Louise hovered. Louise. Wake up. Sato shouted, as he jumped up, higher than humanly possible, and slashed at the side of the stingray. It's futile, she's been deeply hypnotized, Sheffield sneered down at him, as an explosion from Tabitha and Naruto's clashes echoed across the battlefield. Hey Louise. Louise. Sato shouted. Sato, Louise whispered, snapping out of her trance. Sato. What? Sheffield snapped her head towards her hostage in surprise. Louise. Jump down here. Sato yelled in relief. No, Louise shook her head. Do you understand the situation? Sato asked her. Shut up, idiot. I hate you to the core. Louise shouted back, as she stomped her feet, causing the stingray to groan. Foolish girl. Don't mess around, Sheffield said to them in anger. Don't touch me. I hate you all. Louise yelled before she lost her footing, and fell. She screamed, as she plummeted towards the ground, only the narrow catch by Sato saved her from hitting the ground face first. Louise, are you alright? Sato asked her. Sato, let me go. Louise yelled, and pushed him away. Idiot, it only turned out that way before because of Sato started. I hate you. Let me go. I don't want, Louise shouted. I only belong to you, Louise, Sato told her. I'm not going to believe that. Louise shouted at him. Oh, to hell with it, Sato muttered, and then leaned forward and captured her lips with his. She stopped struggling immediately, and he sighed as he pulled back. Do you believe me now? He asked her. Is that for real? Louise responded. Yeah, really, Sato nodded. The one I care for the most in this world is you, Louise. Sato, Louise cried, as she clung to him, and sobbed. Partner, excuse me for interrupting your sweet moment, Durf spoke up. However, we seem to be completely surrounded. They both looked up to see a large number of demonic-looking stone golems with wings around them. Another explosion from behind them caught their attention, and they looked over to see Naruto standing over Tabitha with a kunai embedded in the ground beside her neck. Why? You could have killed me, why spare me? Tabitha asked, confused. Your friend, Naruto replied with a sad smile. Don't you remember that night we spent together? Did it mean nothing to you? No, it meant more to me than anything else, Tabitha admitted. I'm sorry, she said before her staff flashed blue, and she disappeared in a swirl of wind from under him. No, 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 no. Not again. I won't let this happen again. Tabitha, I won't lose you like Sasuke, Naruto thought, as he slowly rose to his feet and clenched his hands into fists. Naruto, Tiffa muttered from her place at the main gates. Beatus stood by her side looking frightened, having watched the whole battle. I thought I told you to stay inside the academy grounds, Naruto said to them. Tiffania, Westwood Void Mage, Sheffield smirked. It looks like it's my lucky day. Not only will I have captured one Void Mage, but two, my master will be most pleased. You'll never get your hands on her, Naruto growled back. On either of them, Sato agreed. And who is going to stop me? Sheffield sneered. Who are you to stand against us? We are the familiars of the void. Naruto and Sato shouted together as they charged forward. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Hundreds of shadow clones popped into existence around them and charged. Senpo. Choadama Race and Terengen. They jumped at the demonic golems and created huge spheres of spinning chakra the size of their own bodies. Sheffield could only watch in horror as her golem army was destroyed in a matter of seconds as the giant spinning energy spheres tore them to pieces. Seker. Sato appeared above her and cut down with his sword. Sheffield jumped back just as the sword made contact and the stingrays seemingly shattered like glass. Below, a large deep cut formed in the field with an echoing boom and was soon followed by a blast of wind, propelling the still airborne Sheffield several meters away. What are these two? Sheffield thought with wide eyes as Sato seemingly disappeared in a burst of speed that was almost inhuman and reappeared in front of her. He swung Durf down to slice her in two when she clutched her necklace and vanished from the battlefield. I think that's the last of them, Naruto said, as he stood atop a still intact demonic golem with his long red coat waving in the wind. She got away, Sato added, as he sheathed Durf with his back against the moons. Hey down there. A voice called out, and they all looked up to the side of a massive dragon-shaped airship. That voice Louise trailed off. It's been a long time, spoke Mr. Colbert, as he stood beside a grinning Kirche. So that's your old sensei, huh? Naruto asked, as he leaned on the railing. It's surprising that he was able to build something like this. I've only ever seen one other airship, and that one was a balloon. I think you mean a blimp, Sato corrected. We all thought that Colbert sensei was killed in a battle here at the academy back during the war. It's good to have him back. Have you talked to her yet? Naruto asked him. I don't know what you're talking about, Sato replied. Louise, you've been avoiding her since the battle last night, Naruto explained. I screwed up and tried to set it right, and to be honest, last night is a blur to me right now, Sato answered. What about that galleon girl that fought you both? Durf asked the two familiars. I'm not sure what to think, Sato replied honestly. I'm going after her, Naruto spoke up. As soon as I find out where she is, I'll be going after her. I need to confront her about this. Sato didn't say anything, partly because he agreed, but knew that he would never abandon Louise, especially after Sheffield had struck this close to home. That expression again, Louise thought, as she looked over at the two. Sato had been like that since this morning, and he's been avoiding me. Could it be because of Her Majesty, that lecherous dog? I still can't forgive him yet, letting him off so easily. I'll lose my dignity as a master and a wife. She swallowed her pride and approached them. Sato, she called her husband. I'll leave you two alone, Naruto said, and walked away. Is something wrong, Louise? Sato asked her. It's about the incident last night, Louise stated. Which one? Sato asked nervously, both knowing what she was talking about and the other things that had happened last night. Don't act ignorant. The incident with Her Majesty, Louise continued. Oh, that one. But didn't I already explain that incident to you yesterday? Sato asked. Yes, I know, Louise nodded and turned away slightly. You said it was due to the situation, right? Thinking back about it, isn't it the same as not explaining? Tell me about it clearly. Well, I've been forgetful lately, Sato said lamely. Are you trying to lie to your master? Just what kind of situation would lead to something like that happening? Louise demanded. Explain it to me clearly. Hey Sato. Kichi called out, unknowingly saving his friend from almost certain death and severe pain. It's time for the on-D night squad to gather. Alright, wait for me. Sato called, as he quickly moved towards him. Wait. Sato. Louise called after him. I'll explain later. Sato shouted over his shoulder as he ran. Even if I were to explain what happened now, I know it would only end badly. Miss Salier? Siesta asked, as she appeared at Pinket's side. What is it? Louise asked with an aggravated sigh. I haven't heard the results from you, Siesta continued. What results? Louise asked, confused. Did Sato manage to find you at the ball yesterday? Siesta inquired, and Louise's eyes widened at her words. From the expression, I guess he didn't find you. That's not true, yesterday, Louise trailed off, as she looked away. Are you trying to deny an ugly truth? Siesta smiled knowingly. Your Majesty's voice sounded, and the two girls looked over to see a gathering of the on-D knights in full assembly, including Sato. They stood before Henrietta and a pair of honor guards who held staff in their hands. It's Lady Henrietta, Siesta smiled happily. She's always so beautiful. Yeah, Louise reluctantly agreed. It's a very splendid ship, Henrietta commented. It's definitely going to become a legend of Halkaginia. It's an honor, Your Majesty, Colbert nodded politely. When gargoyles appeared outside of the academy last night, I am told that this ship drove them away, Henrietta mused. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. No, Your Majesty, it was not us that fought off the attackers, Colbert explained. Sato and Naruto, the human familiars, are the ones who repelled the attack last night. I see, Henrietta said, and looked down. I'm afraid I have never met Mr. Uzumaki, and he does not appear to be here now. Sato Chevalier de Hiraga, I'm very grateful to you. No, it was my duty, as Your Majesty's knight, Sato responded. And where did Naruto go? Even if he's not an Ondi knight, he should still be here. They have to be around here somewhere, Naruto mused, as he entered the academy's main doors. You're worried, Beatus spoke from around the corner. I don't know what your Tiffany's voice was heard next. Please don't think I'm a fool, Beatus interrupted. You're worried Naruto will like someone else like her and me. If he's my friend, we're just friends, Tiffa responded. I think we both know that's a lie, Beatus sighed. You like him more than that, I think you trust him. He's just me, what do you want me to say? Why do you care? Tiffa questioned. I care, both my first friends, my best friends, I like him, Beatus confessed. But I'm a noblewoman, and he's a commoner, so things between us could never work out. And you saw the fight last night, he and that girl were trying to kill each other. Naruto had remained silent as he listened on and hid around the corner from them. Yet again he'd found another mirror of someone from his homeworld, this time in the form of Tabitha, who had betrayed them all and fled just like Sasuke had done 4 years ago now. Tabitha seemed to be alone, and Naruto had tried to fill in that hole in her heart, but after last night it appeared he had failed. He needed to go after her and sort things out. He didn't want her to end up consumed by darkness like his former best friend Sasuke had. For right now though, I couldn't care less if you were an ability or not, Naruto said, surprising them as he stepped out from behind the corner. Naruto, were you listening? How much did you hear? Beatus stammered in surprise. Enough, Naruto replied. I'm going to ask you both right here and right now, do you think of me as more than a friend? Yes, Tiffa answered for them both. I'm not sure what you want me to do, Naruto said honestly. What do you mean? Beatus asked, getting angry. Here they were telling him how they felt about him, and he seemed to be shrugging it off like it wasn't any concern to him. I've never had much of a love life, Naruto responded. Only one girl has ever confessed to me, and she was struck down a few seconds later. That stopped the young princess's anger dead in its tracks. How was she supposed to respond to that? The only girl to ever admit her feelings for him had ended up dead right after. If that were true, then it's no wonder he's not know how to answer their feelings. Fine then, Beatus huffed and walked past him. Forget I said anything, she said, as she walked away. Hey Beatus. Wait. Naruto called after her, but she turned the corner and disappeared from view. Tiffa? He asked, turning to the half-elf. Naruto, if you're important to me, and I don't want to ruin that, Tiffa started only for her familiar to pull her into a hug. Naruto trailed off, as her cheeks turned red. Look, I'm an idiot, I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I'm told I'm kin to dance. But I'm here, and I'm not going to leave your side over something as stupid as this. I think Beatus knows that too, Naruto told her. You'll stay with me, even if we find a way to send you back to your home? Tiffa asked nervously. My home is gone, this is my home now, Naruto replied. Thank you, Tiffa whispered. On the bridge of the airship Aslan stood Professor Colbert Jean, looking out of the viewport at the academy he had once worked at. The sound of the door opening caught his attention, and he turned to see a certain radiated fire mage leaning against the doorframe. So you're here? Kirch trailed off slyly, and closed the door behind her. Ah, Miss Herbs, Colbert greeted. I'm making some adjustments to prepare for the next expedition, he explained, only for her to move closer and press up against him. How many times do I have to repeat myself for you to understand? Call me Kirch, she smirked, as her face drew closer to his. No, I'm your teacher, Colbert tried to reason. Former teacher, Kirch countered, as she pushed them both to the floor with her straddling him. No, stop, Miss Herbs, Colbert said, as her face descended towards him again. You mustn't. Suddenly Sato burst into the room, surprising the two, and he quickly closed the door behind him. He sighed once the door was closed, and turned only to stop dead in his tracks, when he spotted the two mages in such a compromising position. Kirch blinked. Sato? Ah, well, this is Colbert stammered a response. Sorry for interrupting, Sato backed away only for the door behind him to fly open, and his pink-haired wife to tackle him to the ground from behind. Louise had been chasing him across the ship all day with what looked like a magnifying glass, though Delfinger said it would strip him, should she use it on him. She'd even got Siesta and Tiffa to help track him down. Sato, Louise said dangerously, as she pinned his shoulders down with her legs, and held the magnifying glass in her right hand. A lowly dog like you sure gave your master a hard time, she said, as she focused the glass at his forehead. Stop it, Sato said, as he struggled to break free. You can't escape anymore, Louise declared. Last night's mirror, let me see exactly what Sato did last night. An image of Sato, Naruto, and Tabitha fighting from the night before appeared in the glass. That she trailed off, as she and the two girls behind her watched the battle play out from the start. It's been on my mind all day, Sato confessed. I keep on thinking back to what Sheffield said about Tabitha being a loyal watchdog at the academy. I can't help but think I could have done something to save her. Why would she even follow Sheffield's orders anyway? Louise asked a question. I might have an idea why, Kirche spoke, saddened. Tabitha is not an ordinary noble, she's a member of the Gallian royal family. Her father was the current king's younger brother, and her father was murdered during the struggle for the throne. They find Tabitha an eyesore and attempt to imprison her, but her mother takes her place. Ever since then, her mother went insane and locked herself in her room. It was from then onwards that the king of Gallia made Tabitha a chevalier and made unreasonable requests for her to fulfill. Unreasonable requests? Sato asked. Slaying monsters, dangerous investigations, and things like that. Didn't we fight at the Lagdorian Lake 2 years ago? Kirche replied. So that means that the incident yesterday was also Sato's trial. It was probably the king's orders, Kirche nodded. Unforgivable, Sato said angrily. Louise, let's go to Gallia now. Wait, the fact that I'm safe would mean that Tabitha failed her mission, right? What'll happen to her? Louise asked. I'm not sure, Kirche answered honestly. But she might be. It didn't take a genius to figure out what she meant by that. So that's how it is, huh? A voice spoke up from the side window. Naruto sat against the window frame and looked over at the group. So this king thinks he can mess around with Tabitha and the rest of us and get away with it, does he? Alright then, I'll take him on. Naruto Tiffa whispered. You can't take on an entire country, Colbert said. You don't know me very well, do you? Naruto asked him, almost amused. I'm going after Tabitha, and I'm going to bring her back to the academy. I'll take out any dumb moron stupid enough to get in my way too. What about Tiffa? She's one of Sheffield's targets too, and you are familiar with her. You have to protect her, Sato asked him. The best defense is a good offense, Naruto responded. I'm still a ninja even if I'm no longer in my world, and ninja are tools of war. From the moment Sheffield threatened Tiffa and used Tabitha, I consider this a war. Come Sato, we need to talk to Her Majesty about this, Louise said, as she turned and opened the door. Even if she's in Gallia, how are we supposed to find her? Kirche asked the group. Leave that to me, Naruto replied. The following morning after Louise and Sato spoke with Queen Henrietta was spent searching the grounds outside of the academy for any evidence linking to the recent attack. Henrietta had told the two that she would consult her contacts and hopefully come up with a plan to recover Tabitha. You really care about her, don't you? Tiffa asked her familiar, referring to Tabitha. Yeah, Naruto nodded. Is it a problem? What are your plans for the future? I mean after I graduate from the academy. Tiffa asked, changing the subject. Plans for the future? Honestly, I've never really thought about it, Naruto admitted. I mean, back in my world I wanted to become the leader of my village and protect it. I failed. The people in your village could use magic, correct? Maybe you should be a teacher, Tiffa suggested. I've been told I'm a good teacher, Naruto nodded, remembering his brief time teaching Konohamaru. But full time? That'd get boring real fast. Maybe once this is over I might find my own shinobi village here in Tristan. It would certainly piss off the nobles, and I'd still accomplish my dream. And what about me? Tiffa asked nervously. I want you by my side, Naruto told her. I know that's selfish, but I can't think of simply leaving you alone in this world without me there to fight with you. Thank you, Tiffa smiled. A sudden wheezing sound caught the blonde sage's ear, and he looked up in surprise. Just then the most ridiculous thing in the world happened. A naked girl with long blue hair dropped out of the sky and fell into Naruto's open arms. Everyone in the area stopped, and Naruto blinked as he turned away from her body in his arms to her almost childlike face. Who are you? Naruto asked, as his face reddened. I finally found you. The girl in his arms laughed childishly and threw her arms around his neck in a hug. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Beatus shouted in anger from the crowd of people. Why is it always Sato or Naruto? Malicorn whined. You will save my sister, right? The blue-haired girl asked. Sister? Sato asked from the side. Hey you. Why are you naked? Louise demanded. My name is not you, my name is Auku, the blue-haired girl replied in a huff. Her name means wind, Durf said from Sato's back. I don't care what her name is, Louise said angrily. Put some clothes on already. Here, Naruto said, as he set her down on the ground and took off his sage coat. This should do for now, he draped it over her shoulders to cover her. Now what is this about a sister? You have to help my sister, Auku pleaded. Your sister wouldn't happen to be Tabitha, would it? Naruto asked, surprising the others. Of course, Auku huffed in annoyance. You're Tabitha's sister? Louise asked in disbelief. Her hair is a dead giveaway, Naruto sighed. You guys will save her, won't you? Auku asked them. I think we found our evidence, Sato commented. Yeah, we'll save her, Naruto grinned. That's a promise. Irokuku was taken inside the academy to the Ondi Knights headquarters at the northern wall, and given some clothes to wear, though she kept Naruto's sage coat. It was because Tabitha spared Naruto that she will receive punishment, Irokuku explained. And her chevalier title has been taken away. Also our mother was kidnapped. No way, Louise muttered. So where is Tabitha? Sato asked. She was captured too, right? That's why you're here, to get help in order to rescue her, Naruto inquired. I was on my way to rescue my mother when Tabitha was challenged by another mage. He defeated her, Irokuku confirmed. For Tabitha to be beaten, Louise trailed off. This image must be very powerful. The enemy must be a square class, Montmorency mused. Damn it, we should have chased after her, Sato said through gritted teeth. If we did, then Sheffield would have gotten both Louise and Tiffa, Naruto responded. I think it's about time we took the fight to them, don't you think? Please, you have to save her, Irokuku begged. Of course we will, Malicorn said immediately, standing up, but he was the only one. We are going to help, right? You guys can't be doubting her, can you? Sato asked around them. Who here can prove that she is not one of Gallia's spies? Gichi asked a question. I can, Naruto replied, stopping the others from speaking. Irokuku, will you allow me to read your mind? His request surprised everyone present. I had forgotten you could read minds, Beatus commented. If it will save my sister, then yes, just please don't judge me for whatever you find, Irokuku conceded. Naruto nodded, and stepped up behind her before placing his right hand on her head, and closing his eyes. His eyes snapped open a moment later, and glowed, as the Rinnegan morphed into existence. Irokuku gasped, she felt herself stiffen, and her mouth open, as images flashed through her mind. Naruto withdrew his hand a few seconds later, and Irokuku's head fell forward to the desk, as she tried to catch her breath. She's clean, Naruto confirmed. He felt that reading someone's innermost thoughts was an invasion of privacy, however this time was the strangest since he had learned that this girl wasn't in fact human, but was instead a dragon in human form. Not only that, but she was not Tabitha's sister, but in fact Tabitha's familiar Slifid. Everything she said was true, well most of it, but I can understand the one little lie she told us. Well then, Gichi spoke up. We, the Undine Knights, can't just sit around and do nothing. We are going to Gallia to rescue Tabitha. What about the queen? She does command you, doesn't she? Naruto asked them. You can't do anything without her orders, right? He's right, Gichi agreed with a sigh. But that doesn't apply to me, Naruto added. I'm not one of the knights, and I'm not actually under her command since I am technically a mercenary. Which means you don't have to answer to anyone, Sato said, catching on. Exactly, Naruto nodded. Even so, I don't want you going alone, Sato told him. Tabitha has always been the one to save us, Louise spoke up. Now it's our turn to save her. But we still need Her Majesty's permission, Gichi added. Then Tiffa told them. Naruto and I will head for the border to Gallia, and you can catch up when you can. It'll be dangerous, Naruto said to his master. I know, Tiffa nodded with a smile. We'll talk to the queen, Sato nodded. Hopefully I can convince her to let us go willingly. If not, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Sato Louise muttered, as she stared at her familiar. Tirsan Royal Palace. I won't let you go to Gallia, Henrietta said clearly. Why, your highness? Sato asked, confused. If you go, this could trigger a war, Henrietta replied. War, Sato muttered. You're my knights, Henrietta explained. It doesn't matter what you want to do, your actions represent Tristan. Intelligence reports say that Tabitha is locked up as a criminal in prison. If you save a prisoner, it would be considered as a hostile act by a Tristan. Do you understand? I thought that might be the case, Sato nodded, and to everyone's surprise, removed his chevalier cloak. Sato? Henrietta asked, as she stood up in surprise. I'll be giving this back, Sato said clearly, as he wrapped the cloak up and placed it on the table. Now there won't be any trouble for Tristan, right? I and Malicorn shared the same opinion, as the vice captain, Gichi chuckled slightly, as he removed his own cloak, followed soon by reluctant Malicorn. Thanks for taking care of me, Sato smiled sadly, as he stared into Henrietta's eyes. Henrietta herself didn't seem to know what to do until she rang the nearby bell, and one of her guards entered the room from behind them. Agnes? Sato inquired. Arresting these people, Henrietta gave the order to their surprise. Sato simply stared for a moment before sighing in frustration. Oh well, it's not like I didn't think this would happen, he then started to grin. But it doesn't matter because I've done what I came to do. And what do you mean by that? Henrietta asked, confused. You said that your intelligence reports have already told you about Tabitha, so you knew that, as soon as we found out, we'd be coming to you in order to take action. But that only applies to us, Sato continued. I came here because I knew that you had to have found something by now, and didn't tell us because of the risk of causing an international incident. But we're just a decoy, Sato was openly smiling now. Naruto and Tiffa are probably already across the border by now. We came here today to stop you from catching on. That stopped everyone in their tracks. You knew? Henrietta stammered in surprise. I didn't really have any proof until you mentioned the intelligence reports, Sato answered. So lock me up and throw away the key because whether you like it or not, we're getting Tabitha back. I see, so how were you planning to escape here? Henrietta asked. There's no need, Sato shrugged. Once Tabitha is rescued, Naruto will bust us out of prison and we'll be long gone before you realize it. Then why tell me now? Henrietta inquired, curious. Because it doesn't matter, Sato replied. Naruto is what's called a ninja. They specialize in stealth and combat. I've learned not to underestimate him. He did defeat Tabitha after all. Why don't you understand me? Henrietta asked as she stared out of the window. The 3 former knights had been taken to a holding cell, while Louise remained to talk to the Queen of Tristan. Willing to put yourselves in danger. Everyone wants to save her, Louise told her. I don't want to lose anyone important again, Henrietta said sadly, as memories of a prince she loved flashed through her mind. Princess, what do you think, Your Highness, about Sato? Louise asked directly. What do I think? Henrietta mused. He's a very good chevalier. Not as a queen but as a friend, as a woman, please answer. Louise held back her shout. Louise? Henrietta asked. Are you admiring Sato, as a man? Louise asked a question. At the ball, you and Sato. I'm so lonely, I don't have anyone to rely on, Henrietta said sadly. I wanted to share my feelings with someone. With anyone? Louise questioned further. I don't really know that myself, Henrietta confessed. You don't know? Louise clenched her fist at her side. Okay then, Your Highness has her own thoughts, I won't say anymore. However, Sato is my friend and my husband. Siesta is one thing, she's his maid and is aiming to be his mistress. If you do anything to him, then prepare to face the consequences. Yes, that's right, Henrietta sighed knowingly. To you, Sato is a very important person. I envy you saying that for someone I don't have anyone. I'm sorry, Louise, but if it's this, Sato has to change his mind about going to Gallia. There's nothing I can do about Naruto and Tiffa, but I can do something about Sato. I refuse to make Sato change his decision, Louise responded. Why? Henrietta asked, almost desperate. The person who you hold dear has to go fight, will you do nothing? It was always Tabitha who came to save us, Louise declared. Because of that, this time we're going to save her. She removed her own cloak and folded it in her hands. Louise, too, why? Henrietta asked sadly. Like this, I wouldn't be a noble, Louise replied. I'm just Louise, Your Highness, please treat me like the others. This way, it won't bring any trouble to Your Highness and Tristan. Gallia, they want your void magic, Henrietta exclaimed. Tiffa is already in Gallia, I can't lose you too. I know, but as a noble, no, as a person I must do this, Louise said clearly. I see, then if you have to follow your principles, then I have to follow my principles too, Henrietta closed her eyes and sighed in defeat. Guards arrested her, she gave the order, as the 2 guards at the door moved to carry out the order. Just then a yellow-orange blur appeared from the side and tackled Louise before they both disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ascending, the 3 former knights jumped to the side as the cell door was blown off of its hinges. Just then Naruto stepped through with Louise right behind him. Hey guys, did you miss me? Naruto grinned. You're late, Sato told him. Sorry, there were a bunch of evil mages outside trying to prove who had the biggest wand at the entrance, Naruto responded, still grinning. I almost sounded like Kakashi-sensei there for a second. I wonder if he was ever telling the truth. We have to get out of here now, Louise spoke up. Everyone grabbed onto me and didn't let go, Naruto ordered, and the 4 grabbed his arms. Operation no Jutsu, a split second later the 5 were gone, and the guards stormed in to find an empty cell. Find them, Agnes shouted in anger. Tristan's southern force. The 5 reappeared and fell to the ground in a heap. They groaned and stood up slowly before looking around. The first thing that registered was the fact that they weren't in the palace dungeon anymore, but instead they seemed to be in a large forest clearing with what looked like the Ostland resting in the center. I told you not to let go, Naruto sighed. Warn us next time, Louise bit back her shout. Where are we? Sato asked. About 5 miles from the border, Naruto replied. What I just used was a space-time created by my father. It's taken me a while to master it over long distances. Call me I love the Forbidden Scroll. True, he couldn't use it on a large scale yet, but he was learning. Naruto. Sato. Tiffa's voice echoed through the clearing as they were united with the rest of the group. Siesta, Sato smiled as the young maid quickly tended to his wounds. Did anyone notice that you flew to the Ostland here? Naruto asked. We're in the clear, Colbert replied. Let's get aboard and head to Gallia. It'll be dark soon so we can sneak in under the cover of night and their patrols shouldn't spot us. Hey Auku, even if your master doesn't let you reveal your true self, you should do so now, Durf spoke, catching everyone's attention. If you don't want to say it, I will. But I promised my sister to keep this secret, Auku whined. The last thing we need right now is secrets, Naruto countered. Fine, Auku huffed and brought her hands together. The wind around me changed my appearance, blue light engulfed her body and blinded them for a moment. Once the light died down, a large blue dragon all of them recognized as Tabitha's dragon sylph stood in her place. Slifford? Louise asked, surprised. Slifford is a nature dragon, Durf started. Nature dragon? Sato asked over his shoulder. An ancient dragon from the legends with wisdom, elegant language, and control of nature magic, Durf explained. So they're not extinct, Louise said with a smile. We've wasted enough time already, Naruto spoke up. Let's go save Tabitha. My clones didn't find anything on Tabitha, but they did find out where her mother was. Naruto started, as he pointed to a spot on the map on the wall. She's been taken here to some place called Alhambra on the eastern border of Gallia. That's a day away at full speed at least, Gichi frowned. I estimate the city's military strength is around 100 men, Malicorn added. That shouldn't be too difficult to handle, Naruto countered. I can create around 2,000 clones at a time, so the enemy army shouldn't be a problem if it comes down to a fight. We have to take Tabitha's safety into account, as well as her mother's, Kirch spoke up. We could make a sleeping drug and feed it to the Gallian soldiers, Montmorency suggested. I could buy us some alcohol to get them drunk and knock them out with the drug, Gichi added. If the real enemy sees half the soldiers full asleep, then they're going to know something's wrong and possibly hurt Tabitha, Naruto countered. I could sneak in and find them if I go alone. After that I'd use my Hirashin no Jutsu to get all three of us out of the city, but I've only mastered version 1. That's the teleportation spell you used to break us out of the palace dungeon, right? Sato asked. Yes, but in order to do it I need one of these kunai, as a marker, Naruto said, holding up a three-pronged kunai with a seal engraved on it. Think of it as a receiver, and I can summon myself and others to it. However, I've only mastered version 1, so it would need to be on the ground and unmoving for it to work properly. So you can't use it to get back aboard the Ostland, Sato mused. What about its range? 100 miles, Naruto replied. My father could use it to travel anywhere, but that was only because he mastered version 2, which allowed him to use it, while the kunai was moving through the air too. The Ostland would be spotted if it came within 100 miles of Alhambra, Colbert spoke up. If you take the Ostland to the border and wait for us there, Naruto continued. I'd be able to rescue Tabitha and her mother, then use my Hirashin no Jutsu to regroup with the rest of you. Then we head for the border and run like hell before the Gallian army starts chasing us down. The Ostland would be waiting for us there, Sato finished. I'm going with you, Tiffa told her. Tiffa, this is the enemy stronghold we're talking about, Naruto responded. And you're my familiar, Tiffa said back. I'm going with you. I won't let you do this alone. Please tell me you've at least mastered the tree walking exercise I taught you. Alia Alhambra. Naruto and Tiffa dropped down onto the roof of a rundown building at the edge of town and looked over at the illuminated city in the silence of the night. Naruto's eyes were yellow and slitted horizontally as he gazed over the dark town. He had missed the feeling of his sage mode and the additional senses he gained while using it. Well? Tiffa asked nervously. I found her alright, Naruto confirmed. He could sense Tabitha at the very edge of his range along with another which was similar, probably her mother. She's in the northern tower, but I think there's some kind of barrier the chakra it's using is similar to yours. Elfin magic, Tiffa suggested. Let's go, Naruto said, and the two started jumping from building to building towards the northern side of the city. Naruto and Tiffa quickly made their way to the tower and landed on the roof of a nearby building. As they jumped again, however, Naruto felt a ripple in the chakra of a nearby knightly citizen and quickly grabbed Tiffa while in midair. A large ball of rock shot out from the side and flew at them as Naruto turned and raised one of his hands towards the ball of rock. Shinu Tensei, a deafening boom echoed through the night air as the ball slammed into them and shattered upon impact. Naruto dropped down to the ground a moment later with Tiffa still in his arms. Impressive, a shadowy figure commented as he stepped out of the nearby alley. You're both good to penetrate the city's defenses so easily without raising a single alarm or being spotted by any of the guards. And just who the fuck are you? Naruto shot back. My name is Badalshave, the man replied as he removed his hat, revealing his pointy elfin ears. An elf Tiffa trailed off. Stay back Tiffa, Naruto said, and shot forward. Badalshave narrowed his eyes as the blonde shinobi quickly closed the distance between them. Once in range, Naruto threw a punch right at Badalshave's face, only for it to slam into some kind of white barrier around his body. Suddenly Naruto was thrown back by the white glow and crashed down beside a worried-looking Tiffa. Naruto, Tiffa said, as she knelt down beside him. A second later Naruto seemed to explode in a puff of smoke, surprising the two elves. A whining noise caught their attention, and Badalshave turned quickly, as Naruto appeared behind him with a glowing blue ball of spinning chakra in his hand. A Sengen! Naruto exclaimed, and slammed the palm-sized chakra sphere into Badalshave's white barrier. The barrier held for a few long seconds, but both realized it was going to fail, so Badalshave pushed himself away, just as the chakra sphere exploded, blowing them both back several feet. That was no ordinary spell, Badalshave commented. That was pure magic in its simplest form given shape. Not even my console spell can last long under that kind of assault. Yet it does not appear to be a ranged spell, but instead requires the user to strike a target directly in order to ensure any kind of damage. You think you've got it all figured out, huh? Naruto snorted. You're an enigma, Godolshave responded. You can do wandless magic, something only elves and a few rare humans are capable of doing, and yet appear to be a master of war. In that last strike you used a copy of yourself. I do not know how as a decoy to draw my attention while you moved into a better position to attack. Impressive tactic, but it didn't work, and now I know what to expect from you. You underestimate me, Naruto said with a predatory grin. Tiffa, you go on ahead and bring down that elfin barrier. I'll be alone in a minute after I deal with this. Don't worry, there's no guards up there. Are you sure? Tiffa asked nervously, looking from one to the other. I'll be fine, now go. Naruto shouted back. Be careful. Tiffa exclaimed as she ran into the tower. Why are you so certain that there is no one guarding the girl and her mother? Godolshave asked curiously. That's a secret, Naruto smiled back. Elfin power sealed within the rocks, Godolshave chanted as the ground around him glowed green. Abide by the ancient covenant and hear my command. Materialize as flying rocks and destroy my enemies. Lapidibus Ixamin, rocks, and large stone titles from the ground itself started to shoot off and then descend towards the blonde shinobi. Jutsukiken, Naruto whispered as he raised his hands, and the rocks started to crumble and dissolve as they impacted his chakra absorption barrier pulsing into his palms. You're not the only one who can use chakra barriers, Naruto declared. We're taking Tabitha back with us whether you like it or not. I won't let you hurt her anymore. Why do you go so far for her? Godolshave asked curiously. Because I care for her, Naruto replied honestly. I see, Godolshave mused. Shino Tensei, Naruto's voice sounded as Godolshave was sent flying back to his surprise. He crashed into the wall of a nearby building and gasped as the wall collapsed from the impact. What kind of attack was that? Godolshave thought in surprise as he stood once more, and Naruto suddenly appeared behind him with a glowing ball of chakra and wind in his hand. Fuden. Rasengan. Naruto exclaimed as he slammed the bell-like screeching chakra sphere into Godolshave's barrier. With a mighty explosion, Godolshave's barrier collapsed, and his broken and beaten form was half buried in the side of the cathedral entrance. Impossible, Godolshave breathed out as Naruto stood over him. I'm not going to kill you, there's no point, but make no mistake, if you ever come after Tabitha again I will rip this country apart, Naruto said clearly. Wait, Godolshave gasped out as he pushed himself to his knees. What are you? Call me the Sage of Six Paths, Naruto replied, and turned. He didn't look back as he proceeded towards the tower, and Godolshave collapsed into unconsciousness on the rubble-covered floor. There he is. Intruder. The galleon soldier shouted as he arrived on the scene with a dozen men standing in front of the tower. Get out of my way, Naruto said clearly. Ignis. A pair of mages exclaimed as they hurled fireballs at the Rakuto Sennin. The fireball struck him in the chest and exploded, blowing smoke and dust everywhere. We got him. One of the mages cheered. No? Look. The soldier yelled as he pointed towards the clearing smoke. What is that? He asked no one in particular. An oppressive aura filled the air. Naruto stood encased in Kyuubi's crimson chakra with 3 swishing tails. The soldiers never stood a chance. Delio. Tiffa exclaimed as the last of the elfin magic barriers on the highest room of the tower finally fell. She sighed in relief when the door and the wall itself stopped glowing. Hey Tiffa, Naruto called as he approached from the stairs behind her. I'm glad you're safe, Tiffa said with a smile. Me too, Naruto nodded as he pushed the door open. Nice work, Tiffa, now let's get to Tabitha and her mother and get out of here. The room beyond the door was dark with only the candlelight from the nightstand illuminating the bed. In the bed was a sleeping woman who looked extremely ill, and there, sitting in a chair at her side, was Tabitha with her head in her arms. The two approached, and Naruto stepped up beside the blue-haired mage. Hey Tabitha, wake up, Naruto said, as he placed his hand on her shoulder and shook her softly. Huh? Tabitha groaned softly as she lifted her head up. Her cheeks were stained red from where she had been crying, and she was clutching a book in her hands. Naruto? She asked, looking up stunned. Everything is going to be alright, Tabitha, Naruto nodded with a smile. We're getting you and your mother out of here. Naruto, Tabitha sniffed as she cried into his chest. It's alright, Naruto reassured as he held her sobbing form. This was the first time he'd ever seen her like this, and it showed him that no matter how strong she may seem at times, she was still a child when it came to emotions. She clearly reached her breaking point, and he couldn't fault her for that after everything that had happened. Tiffa watched with a small smile and a pang of jealousy as she watched the two. Truthfully, she wasn't sure what to think, but what she did know was that, as long as she was at Naruto's side, then the little things like this didn't matter. I want to leave, Tabitha whispered softly, as tears cascaded down her face. Then we'll leave, Naruto agreed. Do you or your mother need anything? He asked her, but she just shook her head. Alright then, hold on. He lifted her sleeping mother into his arms, as both Tabitha and Tiffa wrapped their arms around his waist. Operation no Jutsu, they were gone a second later. Dahlia Force. Later in the forest north of Alhambra, the rescue team slept under the cover of night in a carriage. They'd been running through the night for hours after Tabitha and her mother were rescued and brought to them. After several long hours they'd stopped to rest and catch some sleep after checking to make sure that there were no galleon patrols near them. Tabitha herself sat against a tree with her gaze reading over the small book in her hand and the moonlight shining down on it. It had been given to her by Bidalshave, and, as she read over it she couldn't help but compare her life to that of the book's main character. "Tabitha," Naruto whispered as he approached. "Why aren't you asleep?" "I can't sleep," Tabitha replied as he sat down next to her. "What's that?" Naruto asked her as he looked down at the book. "Vivaldi the Hero's Book of Memories," Tabitha answered. "Is that so?" Naruto mused. "Books were never really my thing, and that was back when I understood the language." "I'll teach you," Tabitha said softly. "You saved my life. The least I can do is teach you to read our language." "There's no need," Naruto responded. "Tabitha, you're a friend, and I care about you. I'll never let anyone hurt you again. I'd gladly do it again without a second thought, so don't think that you need to repay me or anything." "Vivaldi is the name of the hero," Tabitha explained. "Lou, the name of the girl who was saved in the past my mother read to me." "It sounds like us," Naruto said with a small smile. "The sun is almost up," Sato said, surprising them. "We better get moving and get to the border before someone spots us. It's always darkest before dawn, so we should be able to sneak through the night." "Let's get going," Naruto nodded. The rescue party had kept moving towards the border even as the sun came up and fatigue had started to set in. They'd only had a few hours of sleep before they had started moving again, and the lack of rest had finally caught up with them. Thankfully most were allowed to sleep in the carriage as the horses pulled it towards the border. It may not have been comfortable, but it certainly allowed for them to catch up on some sleep, especially Tabitha. "Hey guys, take a look at this," Gichi spoke up from the front. "What is it?" Sato asked. "It's the border," Gichi replied, as they spotted a large chasm ahead with a wooden bridge connecting both sides. "We'll be in Tristan once we're across the bridge." "Heads up, we got company," Naruto shouted as he snapped his gaze up at the darkening sky. "Turn," Sato yelled as he pulled on the reins, and the horse quickly pulled the carriage to the side as a large curtain-covered thing fell from the sky in front of them. "What was that?" Louise coughed as the smoke began to clear. "It's a lie, right?" Sato asked in disbelief. "Why did it turn out this way?" "Just our luck," Naruto growled out as he hopped out of the carriage and looked up. In front of them stood a large 50-foot-tall metal golem with a huge steel sword and 2 red eyes. "What is this guy?" Sato asked the question. "Long time no see, Gandalfer," Sheffield's voice rang out as she appeared on the golem's shoulder. "You didn't think that it'd be this easy to escape, did you?" "Sluffit," Tabitha said over her shoulder. "I've got it," Sluffit said smiling as she jumped out and transformed into her dragon form. "Their target is me," Tabitha said as she jumped out too and leveled her staff at Sheffield herself. "Your Highness, thank goodness you're alright," Sheffield said mockingly. Daring to fight the Jormungandr, what admirable courage. "Jormungandr?" Sato muttered. "Lacey's Pilum," Tabitha exclaimed as a large javelin of ice formed above her and shot at Sheffield. The ice javelin soared through the air until it slammed into a rippling blue barrier across the front of the golem before crumbling to the ground. "It's unfortunate, but I'm not here for you," Sheffield sneered. "You're a hindrance." "Enough of this already," Naruto shouted as he finished gathering natural energy into his body and his eyes shifted into his sage mode. He jumped up above the golem and formed a spinning ball of chakra in his hand. The ball kept growing bigger and bigger until it was a good 5 times the size of his own body. "Senpo. Choudamura Sengen," he exclaimed as he struck down and slammed the massive sphere into the golem's blue barrier. "A pity bus skewed him." Gucci's voice rang out as a large wall of rock shot up and covered the group as the chakra ball exploded with ground-shaking force. "Did he get them?" Montmorency asked from behind his arms. "That wasn't enough," Naruto himself replied. "We need to get across the border now. Malicorn, get us out of here," Sato yelled as he pulled Louise back into the carriage. Those that had jumped out earlier quickly got back in as the carriage took off and rushed across the bridge to the other side of the border. "There's the Ostland," Tiffa yelled as she pointed ahead. The Ostland had landed on a desert hill in front of them, and they could see the airship's crew, the rest of the group waiting for them, as they approached. "You won't escape," Sheffield's voice echoed with anger, and everyone immediately turned their attention back towards the bridge. The golem had jumped across the gorge and was chasing after them. "She's persistent, I'll give her that," Louise snorted. "I'll deal with this," Naruto said, as he hopped out of the back and landed on the road. "Naruto, what are you doing?" Tiffa shouted after him. Naruto bit his thumb, drawing blood, and quickly formed a series of seals. "No," he slammed his hand down on the ground, and seals sprang out. A massive explosion of smoke signified the summoning of a huge toad with a wipe in its mouth, a coat over its upper body, and a blade at its side. "Bro, what the hell are you doing, summoning me?" Gamakichi questioned. Gamakichi, when the hell did you get so big? Naruto shot back. I was trying to summon the boss toad, your dad. I am the boss toad now bro, Gamakichi replied. Who are we fighting? He then spotted the large golem in front of him, and scoffed. You're having trouble with this piece of scrap metal. What the fuck are you? Sheffield demanded. In all her years she had never seen or heard of someone being able to summon a creature of that size. Even for a mage it was ridiculous. What kind of battle is this turning into? Louise asked. It's like something out of one of my old video games, Sato commented, as he watched on. Light her up, Naruto shouted, as he formed several hand seals. You got a Gamakichi grinned before taking a deep breath, and expelling a wave of oil at the golem. Kaden. Ending. Naruto exclaimed, as he breathed flames down into the stream of oil. Kaden. Kameu ending. Gamakichi echoed, as the oil caught fire, and covered the golem's form. The oil burned for several long seconds before the golem swung with its sword, and a massive shockwave snuffed out the flames. It didn't work, huh? Well, let's try this instead. Gamakichi quickly dashed forward, and drew his blade. I don't know what you are, but you can't defeat the Jormungandr so easily. Sheffield shouted, as the giant toad drew close. Gamakichi swung to the side, and thrust forward with his sword towards the golem's shoulder. Jormungandr turned quickly despite its size, and narrowly parried the blow to his left before turning into a spin, and backhanding the giant toad away. Gamakichi skidded for a moment before leaping into the air, and forming a hand seal of his own. Teppadama! Gamakichi exclaimed, as he belched out 3 massive blasts of water. The water ball struck the golem in the chest, knocking it back, as its barrier quickly absorbed the impacts. Gamakichi dropped back down the ground, as Sheffield's laughter echoed across the battlefield. Your spells are useless. Sheffield shouted with a smirk on her face. It doesn't matter how hard you try, you'll never be able to defeat the Jormungandr. You like the sound of your own voice, don't you? Naruto shot back, as he stood atop Gamakichi's head, and his coat waved in the wind. I've got a question for you though. How come that last attack my terrific friend here just did seem to have made your little toy stagger? What are you talking about? Sheffield sneered. It's an interesting barrier you've got around that thing, but it's not invincible, Naruto grinned. It can clearly absorb any kind of elemental attacks, and to a limited effect, physical ones too. But if I hit that thing with enough force, I'll bet that it shatters like glass. There's no single spell in existence that can damage Jormungandr, Sheffield scoffed. We'll see, Naruto kept grinning, as his hands formed a familiar seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 2 clones popped into existence at his side. Now Gamakichi. He shouted, as he and his clones jumped high above them. I got you, you Bijuwanab. Gamakichi roared, as he shot forward, and jumped at the golem. Despite the barrier around the golem, it was tackled to the ground, and Sheffield was thrown from its shoulder onto the ground near the gorge. You'll pay for that. Sheffield yelled. Suddenly a bell-like screech started to fill the air, as the sky itself began to spin into the shape of a blue 4-point star. What is that? She asked, clutching her ears. There? Tiffa shouted, as he pointed up. Naruto, Tabitha muttered, as they looked up, and saw the blonde shinobi hovering above the ground with spinning white chakra shuriken held above his head. Is it a spell? Kirch asked with a wince. I think it's a wind spell, Louise suggested. Fuden. Rasen shuriken. Naruto exclaimed, as he hurled the chakra shuriken down at Golem. No? Sheffield shouted in horror, as the attack struck the golem in his chest. A deafening boom was heard, as the Rasengan in the center of the chakra shuriken expanded, and engulfed half of the golem in a sphere of wind. Its barrier shattered after being sliced, and ripped apart from all directions, as the ball continued to compress in on itself. It exploded a few moments later, sending broken and battered pieces of its frame in all directions, as Naruto landed back on solid ground in front of the Ostland. Naruto! Tiffa shouted in worry, as she ran up to him. He collapsed forward, and groaned, as he fell into her arms. Damn, I must be getting rusty, Naruto grunted, obviously tired. It's been a while since I last had a decent fight. I need to get back into shape. Let's go home, Tiffa said, as she hoisted one arm over her shoulder, and Tabitha wordlessly did the same with his other arm. Thanks for the help, Gamakichi, Naruto said to his summon. I owe you one. It was good to see you again, Naruto, Gamakichi nodded before disappearing in an explosion of smoke. Sheffield is gone, Sato sighed, as they entered the Ostland. We'll get her next time, Louise nodded, as the Ostland started to take off. This is unprecedented, King Joseph Gaul, ruler of the Kingdom of Gallia said, as he watched the airship Ostland take flight, and head deeper into Tristan. This is unacceptable. Who is this boy? I was expecting trouble from the Void Mages, not some upstart kid with the ability to use wandless magic. I'm sorry, Millard, Sheffield apologized. He was capable of summoning some kind of frog knight, and I believe he is able to do so whenever he pleases. Not only that, but he seems very proficient in elemental combat. He was capable of both fire and wind elemental magic. This changes things, Joseph said coldly. With someone like that protecting not only the Void Mages, but also my niece, we'll need an army just to capture them. Your orders, Millard? Sheffield inquired. Start assembling the other Jormungandr, Joseph gave the order. I want them, and the army prepared for battle. Within 6 months we are going to war. Tristan airship Ostland. Is something wrong with Sato? Siesta asked, as she approached the blue-clad swordsman. They were at the front of the ship looking out at the clouds around them like a normal ship would in the sea. I couldn't do anything other than stand back and wait for Naruto to save Tabitha, Sato sighed. It made me realize that even after all of this time I'm still only one man. You can't do everything, Siesta spoke softly. I hate feeling powerless to do anything when my friends are out fighting, Sato confessed. During that last battle, not even before that at Alhambra, I wasn't able to do anything to help. Is that so bad? Don't you trust the rest of us? Siesta asked him. I trust everyone on this ship with my life, Sato nodded. But if I had a choice between staying on the sidelines and fighting to protect Louise and you, then I'd choose to fight. Thank you, Sato, Siesta smiled as she looked up into his eyes. In any case, I will continue to serve you, my master. Hey, Louise spoke up and appeared from behind them. Sato is no longer a chevalier, so he doesn't need a personal maid, and besides, he's my husband. Being chevalier has nothing to do with this, Siesta shot back. Besides, you're no longer an aristocrat either, and I remember you said back before the Sleipnir Ball that I couldn't be his mistress as long as you were an aristocrat. So I don't want a peasant bossing me around. Louise huffed and turned away. Enough, both of you, Sato said forcefully, surprising the two. You can do this later, but for now I need time to think. But Sato. Louise trailed off. Why don't you two go back inside and get some sleep, Sato said, more as an order than a suggestion. It'll be morning soon, and we'll be back at the palace by then. Alright, Louise conceded and turned away. Sato, Siesta muttered as she too headed back inside the airship. Sato then turned his attention back to the clouds as the Ostland sailed through them. I need to get stronger, and I need to put my past behind me completely. Maybe what I really need is to go back to my homeworld. Tristan Royal Palace. Your Majesty, by defying your orders and acting on our own, Louise spoke clearly as she and the others kneeled before Queen Henrietta. We are already prepared to accept any punishment. Please rise, Louise, Henrietta ordered, and they did so. I will now meet you with the punishment for trespassing into Gallia. She held open a large purple robe engraved with several symbols. This is Louise trailed off at the sight. The royal mantle, Henrietta confirmed, and placed a cloak over the pinket's shoulders. With this, you are now my sister, and the second successor to the throne. As a user of the void, and rendering your services to Tristan, she proclaimed. Your Majesty, Louise muttered softly. Sato, Henrietta said, as she turned her gaze to him. I'll return the chevalier mantle to you, and you're not allowed to let go of it again, understood? She said, as she handed him his cloak back. Yes, Your Majesty, Sato bowed. Now Tabitha, Henrietta said, as she turned her attention to the blue-haired girl that was still kneeling. No, Princess Charlotte, she corrected, as she kneeled next to her. Welcome back to Tristan, she smiled. Thank you, Queen Henrietta. Tabitha. Charlotte bowed her head slightly, as everyone in the room started cheering. She turned and pulled Naruto into a hug. Thank you for everything, she whispered in his ear. I promise I'll always protect you for as long as I'm able, Naruto told her. That's a normal day in Halkajunya. A month passed without incident, and thankfully it appeared that Gallia wasn't going to do anything against Tristan. During that time everyone spent their days settling back into the academy and trying to finally relax. Sadly, it was midsummer now, and the temperature had risen to the point where even the rain was warm. As for Princess Charlotte, formerly Chevalier Tabitha, it was early morning when Charlotte bolted upright in bed, covered her mouth with her hand, and dashed into the bathroom. She vomited into the toilet for several agonizing minutes before finally stopping and tearfully getting a drink from the nearby cupboard. She shook herself after downing a potion and stared at herself in the mirror, sighing at the way she looked in the morning. Ever since returning from Gallia, she had been feeling sick when she woke up in the morning and kept throwing up. Her mother rested in the infirmary where she remained under the care of the medical staff, though the times when she visited her mother always seemed asleep or simply smiled at her. Speaking of the infirmary, it's getting worse, Charlotte mused as she got dressed. I need to see a healer about this. Uncle could have done something to me while I was captured. Tabitha? Tiffa asked, as the blue-haired mage stepped out of her room. Please, my real name is Charlotte, she responded. Is there something I can do for you, Tiffania? I came to ask how you were doing, Tiffa replied. I'm fine, there's no need to worry, Charlotte told her. Well, you don't look fine, Tiffa commented. I've been feeling ill lately, Charlotte confessed. I was just heading to the infirmary to see if I can get something for it. I'll come with you, Tiffa said, and wouldn't take no for an answer. Come on, she said, as she grabbed her hand and started dragging her. Charlotte didn't resist. Here you are, Sato spoke up as he stepped into the main hall. Yeah, I've just been going over a few things, Naruto responded, as he motioned to the large forbidden scroll of sealing spread out across the table. What is this? Sato asked him. A scroll containing everyone from my home village, Naruto replied. It's got information on the Harem no Jutsu which I'm trying to master, but it's rather difficult. I've learned how to use version 2, but every time I do it feels like my body is ripped apart and stuck back together. It hurts like hell. Well, that sucks, Sato shrugged and sat down. Did you come here for a reason or did you do it just to annoy me? Naruto asked with a deadpan expression. I was wondering if it was possible to send me back to my homeworld for a little while, Sato replied. Not for long, probably about a week or two at the most. Something like that isn't like a reverse summoning, Naruto responded. And even if you could go home, how could you get back? Let's face it, Louise can't summon you again. Not unless I die and get resurrected again, Sato nodded in understanding. Well, there's that option, Naruto smiled cheerfully. I'm not going to kill myself just to be summoned back to this world, Sato deadpanned. But because even though I have the Rinnegan I still don't know how to resurrect people, Naruto nodded. Now that being said, I could maybe send one of my kunai to your world, and maybe be able to use the Harem no Jutsu to take a small number of people there. Can that work? Sato asked hopefully. I don't see why not, Naruto mused. Take a look at this. He unfolded the scroll until he reached the very end of it, and most of it was on the floor. Here, he pointed at the very first listed on the scroll. Izanagi? Sato asked, confused. I don't follow mythology much, but isn't it a god or something? I don't really know, Naruto shrugged. But take a look at what it says. He pointed at the kanji around the images. Izanagi is a kenjutsu capable of being used by an Uchiha who has absorbed the power of a senju. This ability is able to bend reality itself, and twist whole dimensions at the cost of a single Sharingan which would close forever, he quoted. But you're not an Uchiha, Sato commented. Could you use this? According to this, the Uchiha and Senju clans are distant descendants of the Rikuin Sennin, Naruto replied. The Rikuin Sennin also had the Rinnegan like me, and Uchiha Itachi also granted me some of his power. I might just be able to do it maybe. Maybe? Sato asked. Well, there are a lot of things that could go wrong, Naruto looked sheepish as he spoke. I mean, we're talking about punching a hole between dimensions large enough to throw a single kunai through. Don't you think that's a little dangerous? What are the odds that you can actually do this? Sato asked hesitantly. I'd say probably 1 in a million, Naruto answered honestly. But he grinned. It wouldn't be the first time I've done the impossible. You mean? Sato trailed off. Just leave it to me, Naruto nodded with a grin. I'll master this in 2 weeks. Neither noticed a stunned Siesta hiding around the corner listening in. What do you mean Sato is leaving? Kurt shouted in surprise. I saw him and Naruto talking about opening some kind of portal back to Master Sato's homeworld, Siesta explained. But why? Why now? Montmorency asked, confused. Maybe he finally got fed up with everything. Kichi suggested. That doesn't sound like him, Montmorency responded. What do we do? Gimli asked the question. Sato, you stupid dog, Louise thought worriedly. I'm going to ask Sato what this is about. Sato stood on the ballroom balcony staring out at the night sky and thinking about his homeworld. Japan had a rich history and culture spanning centuries, but, as much as he missed it, he couldn't help but think back on how dull life on Earth really was. It was the same thing the day after. Wake up in the morning, get dressed, go to school, come home, go out with friends, sleep, and repeat. It was the same old stuff again and again until Louise summoned him to Halkaginia. When that happened, everything had changed, and his first reaction was to try and find a way back to Earth. Over time he stopped caring about going back and fell in love with Louise. He had decided to stay and had never regretted that decision, despite the seemingly harsh challenges that had arisen as of late. His parents had died in a car accident a year before Louise summoned him, and he had moved in with his grandmother shortly after. She had died 6 months later due to a stroke, and Sato had been left seemingly alone with no one to care for him. He was still in school and couldn't support himself even with his part-time job and his family's money. Then there was the whole mess with child services. He was on the verge of dropping out of school when Louise summoned him and made him her familiar. Thinking back on it now, it was quite possibly the best thing to ever happen to him, and he was thankful for that at least. Now he was a knight in the service of a real queen, married to one of the most powerful women to have ever lived, and had his own personal maid mistress. He couldn't help but smile as he descended into the memories of his time here on this magical world with 2 moons. Sato. Louise's voice spoke softly from behind him. He turned and saw her approach with a sad look on her face. You wish to return to your homeworld, don't you? Yes, Sato nodded, knowing there was no denying it. And what about us? What about me? Louise asked him plainly. Well, Sato let a small grin grace his lips. I was planning on taking you with me and showing you my world like you've shown me yours. His reply surprised her. You would take me with you? Louise questioned. I'd take you to the ends of the universe if you wanted, Sato replied. Would you like to go? I'll admit it is tempting, Louise mused. But I don't know, it might not even be possible. Naruto will make it possible, Sato countered. He has a knack for doing what others think is impossible. That's right, Louise muttered. Naruto was another factor in all of this, since he had some rather ridiculous abilities that even she was astounded by. In close combat he was as strong as Sato, and they both knew that since they spared regularly. He could also do wandless magic, which was rare, but not unheard of. The elves especially preferred wandless magic, but it was rare for humans to master it. His magical ability and power was equal to her classmates and herself, judging by the spell that destroyed Jormungandr, and if it came down to a ranged fight between the two, then she knew that they would end up killing each other. It was strange since Naruto appeared to be able to use various elements, having mastered wind to an insane degree, and it was almost certain death to face him in hand-to-hand combat. His master Tiffania, on the other hand, had no offensive or defensive strength at all, instead being able to manipulate memories and use limited elfin magic. It was almost as if all of their strength from their familiar bond was concentrated solely in Naruto, while a small amount was in Tiffania, unlike the equal powers shared between Sato and Louise. That was an issue for another time, however. "What do you say, Louise? Are you ready to go where no mage has gone before?" he said half-jokingly. "Alright, I'll go," Louise nodded with a smile. "It sounds like fun and terrifying at the same time." "I'd be worried if you weren't frightened," Sato smiled back. 2 weeks later Naruto sat in the center of the courtyard and was gathering natural energy from his surroundings, in preparation for the almost godly feat he was about to attempt. It wasn't perfect because to his disbelief, he quite simply didn't have enough chakra to make it effective in a fight. However, he was confident he could open a small tear between the worlds enough to transport one of his kunai through. Tiffa sat opposite him in order to supply additional chakra for the since unlike the others she was half-elf, and had a much larger chakra supply than they did. Sato stood off to the side with Durf wrapped up and strapped to his back, along with a bag carrying everything he planned on taking with him. Louise stood beside him dressed in her new princess robes, and behind them were the rest of their galley rescue party, as they were being called now. Even Charlotte was there, though Naruto had noticed that she seemed to be nervous about something despite hiding it well. "You're not leaving without me," the familiar voice of Henrietta spoke calmly, freezing the group. "Your Highness, what are you?" Louise started. "You didn't really think I wouldn't find out about this, did you, Louise?" Henrietta asked. "Of course not, Your Majesty, however your place is here," Louise replied. "The council should be able to keep things together until we return," Henrietta reasoned. "Agnes will be coming with me, as my personal guard," she said while gesturing to the knight captain at her side. "Are we ready to leave?" she asked, cutting off whatever Louise was going to say. Naruto answered calmly, as his eyes snapped open, and his rinnegan glowing. He stood slowly, as Tiffa backed away, and held out his hands at his side. In his left hand a glowing black void appeared while in the right hand a glowing white light shone brightly. He slammed the two together with his hands, and an echoing boom was heard as they mixed together. "Now?" Tiffa shouted. "Izanagi!" Naruto exclaimed, and was blown back, as the vortex expanded, and then contracted into a small glowing tear seemingly floating in the air. Beatus helped him stand, as everyone observed the floating tear in the barrier between dimensions, but no one dared approach it. "Naruto?" Sato asked hesitantly. "I think I did it," Naruto nodded and approached. He pressed his finger across the rigid line, and bit his lip before pulling back. He pulled out one of his three-pronged kunai, and inside the flattest part of the tear, and pushed it through slowly. It took a few seconds, but he was eventually able to push the whole kunai through the tear, and then stabbed another kunai into the ground beneath him. Operation no jutsu, he disappeared a second later. He then reappeared another few seconds, and nodded to them. "Alright, it's done. Anyone that's coming better do so now because I'm only doing this once." "Are you sure you've got the right world?" Sato asked him. "I'm sure," Naruto confirmed. "Now let's go already." "You heard him, let's do this," Sato nodded, and grabbed hold of his arm. Operation no jutsu, almost everyone else in the courtyard took a hold of him, and they all disappeared a split second later, leaving only the teachers behind. 7 minutes later the tier between worlds closed itself. Japan. Tokyo. In a quiet and unoccupied alley, and seemingly unnoticed by the city's inhabitants, the group appeared. Almost immediately they all fell to the floor, and tried to regain their bearings before examining their surroundings. Sato looked around, and saw people walking by the alley seemingly not noticing the group, and continuing on about their daily lives. "I'm back," Sato said with a light laugh, as he stepped out of the alleyway, and looked around at the tall buildings, the passing people dressed in dozens of different outfits from sailor uniforms to business suits. "So this is your homeworld?" Louise asked, coming up to his side. A few people walked around them, giving them only a passing before continuing on seemingly unconcerned at all. "It's amazing," Siesta said with sparkling eyes. "Yeah, see that over there," Sato said, as he nodded towards a passing box on 4 wheels seemingly pulling itself. "That's called a car. It uses an engine like the Ostland and a zero to push it across the ground." "How are we going to blend in?" Naruto asked the question. "I mean Tiffa and I can turn ourselves into foreigners, but that might not be best for you." "One problem at a time," Sato responded, and looked around. "We'll need money to buy new clothes for the others. They can just stick out dressed like they are." Leave the money problem to me, Naruto said unconcerned. I'll take care of it. During his training trip with Jiraiya, he had picked up the talents of a true thief, capable of stealing what he needed to survive just in case. All he had to do was create a few shadow clones, henge them into different people, and steal money from any passing arrogant bastard stupid enough to be targeted by him. Such was the life of an interdimensional ninja. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.